and faculty members of sister law faculties, faculty members of the UPSC Law School, distinguished invited guests, students of the law, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to the University of Professional Studies, Accra, and particularly to the UPSC Law School. I'd like to extend a special welcome to our special guest of honor, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, His Lordship Justice Kwesi Adim, who is represented here today by Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokolo. Ma'am, you're welcome. Today we have gathered here for a historic legal conference and mentorship fair organized by the UPSC Law School together with AB and David Africa Law Firm. This event is arguably the biggest and first ever legal conference and mentorship fair to be held in this country, and we are grateful to you all for having joined us to commemorate this August occasion. The past few years have undoubtedly been challenging for us all. The COVID-19 pandemic has challenged all aspects of our lives, requiring us to pause and rethink the way we do things. The legal profession has not been left out of this quagmire created by the pandemic, and platforms such as this legal conference and mentorship fair present stakeholders of the legal profession the opportunity to critically engage pertinent issues affecting the training and practice of the law, while also providing mentorship to professional law students. I'd like to acknowledge and appreciate the work of Dean Abochi of the UPSC Law School. His dynamism, his vision, his sincerity, motivation. Could you please allow me to say everything and you clap after it? And the good leadership he's demonstrated so far has made the UPSC Law School an enviable position as one of the best law schools in this country and West Africa. Under his able leadership, conferences, webinars, and seminars have been consistently held, and it is aimed at developing and adding value to our student body and faculty, and also to create and educate the Ghanaian populace. Thank you very much, Professor Dean Abochi. I express my sincere appreciation to him and all faculty members of the law school for this great initiative, which seeks to fill a critical gap in engagements among lawyers, law students, judges, academia, and policy experts, and is intended to provide a platform for exhibition, interaction, and mentoring. Clearly, a fundamental feature of contemporary legal systems is the existence of platforms on which the three dimensions of these systems, namely law schools, the bar, and the judiciary, engage and interact on a sustainable basis. And this conference has been designed to achieve this objective. We begin this conference with heightened optimism and excitement as we explore issues relating to the training and mentorship of young lawyers, legal practice in an uncertain era. Each of us gathered here has come from different pathways with the objective of making this conference a success. Among many things, this conference promises an extraordinary valuable asset of experiences and a lifelong currency that will impact and add value to our lives. I therefore particularly urge students present here to utilize this opportunity to improve upon their journey to becoming successful legal practitioners. To the invited speakers and panelists, I thank you for making time to join us to help build the legal profession and legal training. May God bless us all and endow us with strength to do more for our beloved country, Ghana. Thank you, and I wish you successful deliberations. I want to also take this opportunity, maybe just spend some 5 minutes with you, and I have to leave. So I believe I have your permission to do so. Thank you very much, and you're all welcome.
Thank you very much. I think we can do it better for him. thank very much the Pro VC, Professor Charles Banner. He has done a yeoman's job in welcoming all of us. I'm not sure I had the capacity and even the wherewithal to introduce our distinguished guest we have in our midst. But also to give us the statement of purpose. We invite the man that the Pro Vice Chancellor describes as the man who is dynamic, the man who has a lot, who is full of creativity. If you've ever worked with the Dean of the UPSA Law School, you know that you are actually a person who, if you think you are creative, meet Professor Dean Abochi, and you know that you actually aren't creative enough. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite to the podium the Dean of the UPSA Law School, Professor Abochi, to give the statement of purpose.
Thank you. My Lady Justice Gertrude Tokono, representing the Chief Justice, Justice of the Supreme Court, the Chairman of the Conference of Deans, Professor Tuguba, colleague faculty members, and colleague deans from other sister universities, law practitioners, and most certainly my Pro Vice Chancellor, students. Thank you for being here today on what the Pro Vice Chancellor has rightly described, in our opinion, as historic. Today provides an opportunity for the first time for students of law, practitioners of law, law firms, and even judges to interact on one platform about the practice of law, and then to have a first-hand encounter with law firms who have exhibited their practice on our campus. When I became a lawyer the first day, I had to rely on familiarity to start my practice by speaking to somebody that I knew. Indeed, Professor Tuguba is seated here. He was my first senior in chambers. And that was one of the accidental practice opportunities that I had. But for the fact that I knew him, perhaps I would have struggled looking for a law firm. I didn't know where they were located back in the days when the internet wasn't really an issue. You couldn't find things online. And therefore, many of us operated in the dark. We selected law firms on the basis of who we knew or what we may have heard in the rumor mill. Law students today, in spite of the internet, are still wobbling in the dark. Because even when you go on firms' websites, there's so much one can see. We do not have that opportunity of interacting with law firms before we become lawyers. We do not have the opportunity of mentorship for us to be guided on the path of professional development even after we become lawyers. There are many dreams that are dying because people are in need of mentors and people to guide them. Today, the UPSA Law School is delighted that when we called, you showed up, and you're all here to support this enterprise of discussing the issues that are implicated in legal practice today, as the Pro Vice Chancellor mentioned in his excellent short speech. That we live in a time of a pandemic where a profession that depends on speech is being gagged because there's so much one can say at a certain distance. Judges are concerned and worried about lawyers coming too close. Lawyers are concerned about clients whispering things in their ears. People are generally not comfortable being in the court environment. So for a profession that depended on presence, the pandemic perhaps represents a major threat to the future survivability of the legal profession itself. This conference is designed, among others, as you will see from the panels, of going into some of these issues. The practice of law in a pandemic era, the practice of law in a shrinking legal market, and the reason we speak of shrinking legal market is because for many enterprises, whenever there are uncertain times, they have to downsize. And as they cut their risk, one of the first things to cut is legal risk, because that, in the opinion of many companies, can be dispensed with. It is therefore imperative that law students understand the future of the profession they are seeking to join. And lawyers reflect back in retrospect on 2 years that have passed and that continue to shape and undermine our profession, and for which cause we need to chart a path moving forward. I thank the Chief Justice for nominating somebody who arguably is the most training-minded judge on the Supreme Court. And indeed, thank you. And indeed, she takes her training to the courtroom. One of my juniors in chambers came back from court one day crying that she met Justice Tokono. And she had been schooled very openly and very seriously. And when she was saying that, my first question, my own concern was for myself. So my first question was, did she know you came from my chambers? And she said she didn't ask. And I breathed a sigh of relief, because I was worried that if she had known, perhaps my name would have been added to the schooling that you go and tell your senior in chambers. Justice Tokono has been known to be a student judge, or rather, a teacher judge, a judge who schools while sitting on the bench, and I have personally known the fact that she's been involved in too many training programs involving judges, involving students, involving lawyers, and everyone who matters in the legal profession to number. And so we're delighted, my lady, that you're here today to share this, in our opinion, historic moment of reflecting on the legal profession, the law students, and the future of law students, and indeed the future of the bar itself. I'm aware this is one of the few instances in which a very dignified person may be invited and would give us the opportunity of somebody representing him, and we are not sure whether indeed he's busy. But this one I know the Chief Justice is busy, because I came back only yesterday from Lome myself, and the Chief Justice is in Lome attending the ECOWAS program. And so I know for a fact, I was with him, I know for a fact that he's not in his office, and then he sent a very able person to us, but I know for a fact that he's not able to be with us. But we're indeed quite happy that for his inability to come, he sent us someone who can barely be compared, to whom anyone can barely be compared with in terms of the subject at hand. So thank you all for coming, and I do hope that the next 2 days will provide an opportunity for all of us to reflect on the subjects that affect our common destiny, the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dean. As mentioned earlier, this conference is being organized in association with AB and David Africa, one of the very distinguished firms we have here in Accra and even in Africa. And so we'll take a message from them, from our sponsors, AB and David Africa, if they're here. Thank you.
Good morning. Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokono, Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, our special guest of honor, the Director of the Ghana School of Law, the Dean of the Faculty of Law, UPSA, Deans of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, GIMPA and Legon, colleague lawyers, students, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. As a representative of AB and David Africa, the sponsor of the event, I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Every year when I teach my first year professional law course students, I ask them why. Why law? They are always the typecast answers: money, prestige, a launch pad to politics, fulfillment of a parent's dream. Sometimes the stories evoke workers' laughter, and sometimes your eyebrows may just meet your hairline in amazement at the responses. This year, I was deeply affected by a poignant story. It was the story of Daniel. I have Daniel's permission to tell a story. Daniel is blind, but Daniel wasn't born blind. He was blinded by green-eyed monsters, parading in senior secondary school uniforms, who couldn't bring themselves to simply applaud Daniel for his brilliance. An excellent debater, His seniors in his senior high school put sand in his eyes after he won an essay competition, blinding him. When our president, Nana Akufo-Addo, heard him recite a poem that he had authored, he encouraged him to become a lawyer. I was moved by the story, but I was even more moved by his composure as he told it. Daniel is a constant reminder of purpose. Now I will tell you another story, mine. So it's the morning of June 25th in the year 2000. I zipped myself into the suit in which I was baptized as a lawyer. I'm propelled by 4-inch high-heel shoes. I'm at the back of a rambling taxi on my way to a job interview at AB & David, then General Law Consult. I don't know what to expect. I'm getting close to the offices, the second floor of the Kingsway building. I look over the copy of my application letter. I'm tickled as I read the words. I offer enthusiasm and a commitment to hard work. Words borrowed from a worn-out interview guide, nothing original. I'm feeling pretty smug. The application letter got me the interview. Then I get anxious. What if the other interviewees have also used that line? I reassure myself that the partners will be impressed nonetheless because I bothered to research even my application letter. It's a comforting thought, and I hold on to it. We are at Kingsway now. I'm a bit anxious. I look in the driver's mirror to assess the damage the wind and dust gushing through the open windows of the taxi have done to my hair. My efforts are thwarted by the driver, who appears equally consumed with breathing his own 5-5 side beds. I lose out on the contest. My reflection on the side of the car will have to do. So I totter on my heels through the car park and up the stairs to General Law Consult. My feet are killing me. Mr. Ofusu-Dorte will see you in 5 minutes. A young burly man enters. I'm David Ofusu-Dorte. I'm the managing partner of General Law Consult. That moment will be the changing point in my professional life. It's been more than 21 years since that day. My permed hair has given way to kinky twist, my 4-inch high heels to save 2-inch kitten heels, and my clothes to arguably sensible length dresses. Now, why am I telling you the story of Daniel and I? I am, because our stories don't happen every day. Not everyone will encounter a president. Not everyone will meet a visionary. But in the everyday opportunities, you can create your own path to your own definition of success. As a law student, I had never sought out or even cared to seek out a mentor. Staying in my corner and minding my own business had served me well over the years. But over the next 20 years, I would experience the life-changing impact of people willing and ready to invest in growing others. That is why any opportunity to support a mentorship initiative or investment in people is a calling for me personally and for AB & David as a firm. Over a 21-year history, I have seen brick by brick the amazing things people can achieve when their minds are right. And sometimes all it takes is for an experienced person to shift your thinking and your perspective. That's how, as a law firm, we marshaled our people to become the first law firm in Africa to secure the Law Society of England and Wales Lexel accreditation, which is awarded to law firms that meet the highest practice standards. That's how this year we won the Africa Law Firm of the Year Large Practice. That's why we are listed this year as one of the largest 50 law firms in Africa, the only Ghanaian law firm to make the list. This conference is an opportunity that UPSC has presented to you to teleport into your future and prepare for that future. So by all means, be excited by your new skirt, suit, or suit. Be upset that it is frayed. Be excited by your updo. Be excited by the friendships, alliances this conference will present. Yes, be. That's part of being young and being excitable. But ponder on Abraham Lincoln's life-transforming words. The best way to predict your future is to create it. We are living in an information age with lots of opportunities. You have the information, you have the data, and the people to help you design that future. Through mentorship, I myself have been blessed with the audacity to be here this morning to address you as the managing partner of AB & David Ghana. Imagine what you could do if you start planning your future now as a student. So I urge you to start thinking now about the future you want to have, and you can do, and what you can do, and who can guide you towards that future. I trust that you have a great conference, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the words of encouragement. Sometimes as junior lawyers or even students, we wonder whether we can even make it, especially in an era where we are constantly being told that we are not serious or we are not reading enough, or we are being told that we have taken the law for a ride. But we are very grateful for sharing with us how you started, and we know that maybe some of us did not start in your way. Some of them might have started less than that, or even slightly higher than how you started. But we know that one day we probably may get there through hard work and through mentoring programs like this. Thank you very much. Now, having heard words from the Pro Vice Chancellor, having heard words from the Dean of the UPSA Law School, and having heard some words from our sponsors, it's right that we get to hear the keynote from our very special guest of honor. And in my culture, it has been said that with great things, or with a big thing, a big mouth must say it. I don't think I'm worthy enough to introduce the guest of honor. Somebody worthy here can do it. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite Mr. Eugene Oninku to introduce to us a special guest of honor.
Good morning. The special guest of honor for today's program, who is representing the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, is a Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana. She hails from Winneba in the central region of Ghana. She had her secondary education at Wesley Girls High School for her O-level certificate and at Chimota School for her A-level certificate. She had a tertiary education at the University of Ghana and proceeded to the Ghana School of Law and was called to the bar in 1986. Prior to joining the bench from the High Court level in May 2004, she was the managing partner at Suzu Law Consult, a law firm based in Accra. She was elevated to the Court of Appeal in October 2012 and was further elevated to the Apex Court of Ghana in December 2019. Prior to her appointment as a Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana, she held quite a number of leadership positions, some of which include Supervising Judge of the Commercial Courts, the Chairperson of the Editorial Committee of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, amongst others. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, please let's all welcome our special guest of honor in the person of Her Ladyship, Justice Gertrude Toko.
Thank you very much. Do kindly sit down. Thank you. Good morning. Mr. Pro Vice Chancellor, Dean Abochi, Dean Atuguba, representative of the Dean of the KNUST School of Law, Director of Ghana School of Law, and I see Mr. Mbea, my very good friend. I see a number of faces that I'm very familiar with, and many faces that I'm not. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you all. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning. And I recall when the Chief Justice asked me, I have to use this, huh? Thank you. When the Chief Justice asked me to represent him early this week, I was very worried about the number of judgments waiting in my study. And throughout the week, my husband kept prodding me and saying, when are you going to write your speech? And I said, somehow I know that in the night it will come. And so what I'm about to say came through the night. But seriously, it's a great pleasure to be here this morning, and I'm very, very grateful for the invitation or for the back pass from the CG, as we say on the bench. So I bring you warm greetings from His Lordship, the Chief Justice, who is unavoidably away this week. And I see that your Dean has let out where he is. He sends his appreciation for this invitation and has asked that I present these words on his behalf. Let me begin by setting out 4 unchangeable pillars upon which law practice must be constructed, and which are not affected in any way by modernity or uncertainty, before considering any semblance of fluidity that our current era may seem to be impacting on the practice of law as we know it. The first pillar is the concept of justice. Justice is always according to law, and never any notions of morality, common sense, or logic. It's a bit painful these days to listen to discussions, some of which even involve lawyers, bringing certain notions that have no basis in law. And it's my prayer that as a law student, you will take this very seriously, this information I've given you. That's what mentorship is about. That's in considering what constitutes a just outcome in any case, dispute, or discussion on legalities, the legal community must constantly start and complete this journey with what does the law say. As law students, this foundational understanding must sit firmly in any philosophy you dwell on, because without this appreciation, your learning and understanding and functioning within the arena of law may be derailed. So when Article 1251 of the 1992 Constitution directs that justice emanates from the people of Ghana, it is pointing firmly to the enactors of our 1992 Constitution, Parliament, and the various sources of law that the Constitution defines. The law is what the 1992 Constitution defines, says it is, and justice is found only in what the law says, and no other notions. The second unchangeable pillar on which the practice of law stands is the content of law. So the first one is that justice is always according to law. The second one is the content of law. If justice is what the law says, then the sources of law should constantly remain within the purview of everyone in the legal community when functioning within a corner of the law. In this dispensation of the 1992 Constitution, Article 11.1 to 7, Article 11.1 to 7 of the 1992 Constitution outlines an elaborate menu which give us the content of law in Ghana. The broad contours are found in the Constitution, enactments made by Parliament, orders, rules, and regulations made by any person or authority under a power conferred by the Constitution, the existing law as of 1992, and the common law defined in Article 11.2. And as a law student, you ought to know that the common law of Ghana is larger in scope than the rules of law, than the rules of law generally known as a common law. It includes the doctrines of equity and rules of all of Ghana's customary laws. Thus, even when dealing with the unwritten part of our common law, the content must be carefully distilled from defined foundations and never plugged in an arbitrary manner. The third pillar I'd like to draw your attention to is that the practice of law is done within an industry. In this industry, we find the legislature who define the structure and content of law, and all persons given power to create law by the 1992 Constitution, and the legislature, and the judiciary who interpret and apply the law as defined by the legislature, And thirdly, we find academics who teach the basics of the law as created by the legislature and applied by the judiciary and taught. And finally, we find lawyers who must advise and represent their clients with a truthful presentation of the law as defined by the legislature, applied by the courts, and taught to them by academics. Recently, I heard some commentator who used to appear before me in the High Court complain about the exercise of discretion by a judge and say that if the judge was exercising discretion, then why was there a discussion about the context of law within which the discretion was to be exercised? I was horrified. I was horrified, and I'm afraid I'm veering into the place where Dina Bucci said. I was horrified, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him again, to seeing him somewhere. He's busy in a certain place now, and I'll look for him. I was horrified because discretion, even discretion, must be exercised within law. We don't pluck the exercise of discretion from the air. And so as law students, it's really important to me that you appreciate that the law, anything you do, you must find out what's the law, what the applicable law is. Everything you say, whether we are dealing with factors and principles from common law or we are dealing with statutory interpretation, anything, you must root your thinking and your discussions within law. No common sense and no notions of morality. We hear on the radio people saying, but even me that I don't know anything about law, I can see that what the person did is wrong. Of course, that is the context of the black law. But when you enter court, your first consideration is whether you've got the procedure right. Should the law surrounding procedure be wrong, it doesn't matter how right you are, you cannot get a hearing. So the law is holistic. You can see I've put my speech aside. The law must constantly be interpreted within a holistic environment, a holistic basket. I call it legal 360. Does the court have jurisdiction? Do the parties have capacity? Have you used the right procedure? Those technical things, you must go over those hurdles before your righteousness can be considered. I return to my text now. The fourth pillar is that, as happens in any industry, the law is practiced not only with the knowledge derived from the first three pillars, but also with skills and ethical values that may be unwritten about, but are powerful in determining whether the practice of law by any industry player is sitting properly on the other three pillars or is being perverted. The skills include research and learning skills, such as identifying relevant and applicable areas and principles of law in any given fact, situation, and combination. The skills of correctly interpreting and understanding the context of law in any given situation, and then the skills of communication, such as hearing, listening, speaking, and writing in the arenas that the law must be presented to industry players or clients and citizenry. Now you may ask me, what does she mean by the skill of hearing? I can assure you that hearing itself is a skill that must be developed. Because in our cultural context, we don't tend to listen very well. Two of us talk at the same time, or several of us talk at the same time, and nobody really hears the other. And you probably have been learning all sorts of styles from listening to radio and watching parliamentarians. And so, and then there's also a cultural context. And so you come to the courtroom, and if you start in the district court, you'll find lawyers yelling at each other. And the judge looking very irritated. And you think it's a good style. You are totally out of order. Because you must, in order to be an effective lawyer, you must really learn to listen and hear and process, understand, interpret, and then apply. So I'm suggesting to you this morning that starting from today, begin to hone the skill of listening and hearing. That is only when you can truly understand and find relevant principles. Now to values. The values I'm talking about include competence in identifying and interpreting the law, diligence in studying, understanding and explaining the law, integrity in working within the rules of engagement in any activity around the law, and propriety of conduct as required by the industry. And I was a bit tickled by, is that Ms. Boateng? Is that Isabel? Achimota School? Okay, okay. Because I know an Isabel Boateng from Achimota School. I always thought that was, that's JoyNews, I'm sorry. I've diverted. But, where was I? I was on, sorry? I was on her story of 4 inches of heels. And I thoroughly enjoyed your speech. But I recall a call to the bar that I was present at. And a young lady was in extremely tall shoes. And the poor little thing, as she came down the stairs, fell down. Mentoring will tell you that court shoes mean sensible shoes. You see, values are picked up from relationship and engagement. And as a lawyer, and proper conduct, as a lawyer, begin to appreciate that values are a necessary part of our work. Telling the truth, not evading acceptance of where you went wrong, so that you can pick up what is right. Esteemed listeners, my view is that these pillars can and must never be shifted by any notions of modernity or uncertainty of times. It does not matter whether a lawyer, judge, academic, or law student is functioning in any context, COVID-19 or not. They cannot take their eyes off the actual scope of the defined and derived law and present perverted understandings of the law, arising from their own notions of what ought to be right. Judges, lawyers, academics, and law students must develop their skills of study, interpretation, and communication until they are so honed that whenever they are called on to function in an area of law, their output is centered squarely within the framework of law and presented with excellent skill. And most importantly, like the foundations, walls, and roof of a building, every interaction in every forum must be guarded, laced, and encapsulated with appropriate ethical values. It is the application of values in the work of justice delivery that sometimes give outsiders the impression that justice is a matter of morality and common sense. But we as industry players know that even in the engagement of the values we bring to the table, such as independence of thought and the exercise of discretion, they must be exercised within the context of identified law. But while recognizing these unchangeable features of law, it cannot be denied that modernity is always a feature of every season and time of human existence. The word modern is defined as relating to the present or recent times as opposed to the remote past by the Oxford Dictionary. Any discussion of modernity should therefore be referable to current context. And within every modernity, the content of law is likely to change in response to the unique needs and demands of the times. However, even within any modern context, the legal practitioner cannot move away from the 4 pillars described above. This is because a constant inquiry to find out whether any laws, rules, principles, and regulatory frameworks are changing or have changed must characterize the exercise of skill and deployment of values. It is that appreciation that will ensure that our research, application, and interpretations are centered within the valid context of law, and not only early materials that we may have encountered. So as you prepare yourselves to come into this industry, you must know that you must stay on top of how the law is evolving, how the law is changing. And I can give you a tip that somebody gave me years ago. He says, start your research always with the Supreme Court of Ghana law reports, because if anything changed, that's where it changed. When the High Court changes anything, that's not the last word. You understand me? Mm-hmm. So start your research from the Supreme Court of Ghana law reports. It is that appreciation that will ensure that our research, application, and interpretation are centered within the valid context of law and not early materials that we encountered. Legal research must be diligent in order to be competent and never shoddy. Our conduct and intellectual reviews and evaluations must be sensitive to developments in customary norms and social context, recent orders and regulations, so that we can ably contribute to the development of law and the quality of justice as envisaged under the National Constitution. So as you can see, because of the principle of legality and the rule of law that compels predictability and validity in law, modernity only shapes law if law regulates modern context. So don't be too carried away by the visage of modernity. Constantly go back to existing rules and then develop your thinking from existing rules. How about the uncertainty of our current reality? No one can deny that we are living in an era of very high octane change in at least 3 contexts: the development of technology, moral norms, and the real-time effect of changes in global dynamics on local conditions. And recently, we've been faced with the discussions on LGBT and all sorts of perspectives on the subject, talking about moral norms. And then we've been faced with the global pandemic. But should the issue of LGBT ever come up anywhere, the answer to it will have to lie in what is the law. Technology, digitization, and digitalization have become the real drivers of our present world. This means that for legal industry players to be competent and skillful, we have to and must briskly engage with how legal principles function within the digital, electronic, and virtual worlds. Whether it is torts, all forms of criminal activity, or all forms of commercial activity, our world has shifted into the virtual realm. Can the traditional principles of law be applied to relationships and transactions that are now being conducted virtually? We must answer that with the statutes and principles of law established and use the established norms to develop new ones if need be. So in conclusion, let me ask some questions related to the current fluidities of our modern and global realities. Will a marriage be a marriage if the man is in Tokyo, the lady is in Accra, and the pastor is in London, and it's conducted over the net? Will it be a marriage? Will a child be the child of a couple if the sperm donor is in Bahamas and gave his consent by email without a signature, and the surrogate is in Benin, and the father and mother are waiting to receive the child in Ghana? Will the child be their child? If a citizen of America with a passport indicating gender X arrives in Ghana, what will that person's rights be? To help you answer, I will direct you to the 4 pillars above. As much as this is our modern uncertainty, we in the law cannot afford to throw up our hands and just have an interesting discussion. Every law student, lawyer, and judge must shift their competencies to examining the statutory framework in our jurisdiction, the common law principles, and begin to appreciate how such issues must be resolved. We must hone our ethical values of competence and diligence, as well as our skills of research and application. Justice is always according to law, and the law should always have answers in accordance with legality. This can be the only direction of law practice in a modern and dynamic world. Let's begin to engage with these realities and use the pillars to continue strengthening the rule of law. To divert to an old expression, I will say that plus ça change, plus à la même chose. No matter how much it changes, it remains the same. The ancient boundaries remain. We only build modern edifices from the stones that are already living. Thank you for inviting His Lordship the Chief Justice to share thoughts with you, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Her Leadership. Thank you very much for the very well-delivered speech. And I'm very glad the fact that she spoke to us like a mother. She encouraged us like a mother. We are very grateful for Her Leadership, Justice Tokono. Please let's give it up for her once more. To mention, we are currently live on Joy TV, and we're also streaming live on all their YouTube channels, so you can kindly share their link with anybody to join in this feed. Now, having heard all these, hitherto, the biggest problem of a law student was to complete in their faculty. Then they know that they are becoming lawyers. But today, the biggest hurdle of a law student is to enter the law school. And year in, year out, we see and we hear all the demonstrations and the brouhaha about the law school. Thankfully, we have somebody here who I know many law students are looking for, who wants to ask a few questions, or to ask him that, what can we do to inherit the salvation of the law school? Ladies and gentlemen, I have good news for you. We have the director of the law school here to give us his message on how we can enter the law school.
Good morning, everyone. With such an introduction, I don't know what to say. It's such a joy to be with you this morning. I've been in legal training or teaching from October 1998. I've been at the law school since 1998. I joined from Home Finance Company, and then from October 98, I've been in the law school. So I see many of my sons and daughters here. They have grown in the profession, and they are now also. So if I'm your father, then all these other people are my grandchildren. The law has expanded a lot over the years. What we learned, conveyancing, criminal law, civil procedure, etc., has changed. As a student, I taught conveyancing. Who has a doctorate in space law? I have no idea about space law. But there she is, working her trade outside the country. The things we need to know about entering the law school is very simple. Most of you would have to address the fact that there are conditions precedent to entering the law school. Most important of all, your competence as a law student. It's very important that you listen to your teachers and work hard. There are no two ways about it. In 2013, when I went to there was a General Legal Council meeting, and I said to them that I don't believe in protocol admissions. People must enter. We had just started the entrance exams. People must enter the law school on merit. And they said, if you can do it, do it. And that was what we did. I said that by the grace of God, from 2013 up till now, we don't have a person who has come to the law school saying, I'm the son of so-and-so, I'm the daughter of so-and-so, grant me audience. Everyone must come in on merit. It has not been easy. I made a few enemies, etc. But the principle was that, as a first-generation lawyer, I was given that opportunity by people, Professor Ifusoma, Professor Kuti, and the others. They admitted me based on my performance at the A-level. That was all. I didn't know anyone at the law faculty. And that's the principle I still hold, that you don't need to know anyone. At the law school, sometimes people quarrel with me. I say you don't need to know anyone to gain admission at the law school. Work hard, do well in your entrance exam, and come in. When you come in, you know that you got in on merit, so you don't need to worry. You are there by choice, you are there because you deserve to be there. And then you can work hard. Okay. That is one of the things you need to know. Work hard, don't learn just the head notes. When you are giving cases to read, don't read just the head notes. Learn the principles, let it work for you. There are two things I want to talk about: integrity and hard work. Sometimes I've had to dismiss law students who were caught cheating, examination malpractices. It is not an easy decision, but that's the nature of my work. If you are trying to be a lawyer and you are starting by cheating, then you don't deserve to be there. And so integrity, and that integrity carries into your profession. Anywhere you go, okay, that integrity will help you. Sometimes people think that if you're a person of integrity, you will not get money. I can tell you that if you're a person of integrity, you attract work, you attract wealth. I was going to say amen, but I won't. You attract wealth. Be known as a person of integrity. When documents you have prepared are sent out, people should know that this was done by a competent person, not someone who takes shortcuts. The other thing I want to talk to you about is the fact that let your values remain. This profession, as my leadership was saying, there are so many things that are happening, but let your values remain. The values of integrity, hard work, fairness, let it remain, and to carry you far. I'll leave you with Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29. Do you see a man who is diligent in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before ordinary men. So in your work as law students, in your work as law professionals, in the legal profession, work very hard. That hard work will take you very far. You don't need to know anyone in the profession. Your hard work will attract more work, and more work will give you more exposure. I'm very happy about this particular program because we didn't have that opportunity. As Dina Bochi said, we were thrown into the middle of the legal profession when we graduated. Maybe you go to church with so-and-so, then you align yourself with the person. Or you all come from Gomwa Brofu Yedru. So this is the first line you go more do. Then you associate yourself with the person. Then you start working. But now you have the opportunity with this fair to meet other law firms. Learn from these mentors. Ask them questions. You have paid your school fees. You deserve to be here. Ask them questions. Any question that you need to ask or you need to know, find out. We are always available to help you. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Thank you so much for your time. And I wish you a successful fair.
Thank you very much, the Director of Ghana School of Law. Director mentioned one thing which got me excited, that we shouldn't be head notes lawyers. That students, we shouldn't just read and end at the head notes. And I want to add that for some of us who also write our exam, we write in a decided case. Don't put something there. In the further decided case. In the subsequently decided case. You absolutely mentioned no case. It should also be one. The law school does not allow that. Now we take messages from the deans of the law schools, but I want to mention, until now, there used to be a debate as to which law faculty is the best, which law school is the best in Ghana. But since we're on this soil, I think I want to just settle that debate, that currently is the UPSC Law School and the rest. And so if anybody is in doubt, if you want to know which school is better than the other, I can't speak for the others, but at least I know it's the UPSC Law School, then the rest can come. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite the Dean of the University of Ghana Law School to give us his message.
Good morning. Good morning. I will not comment on the last statement. Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokonu, one of the most pleasant experiences I've had in my little practice in the courts is appearing before Justice Tokonu, including when she sent me a writ of habeas corpus ad testificandum to appear before her court and provide expert evidence on the Constitution of Ghana. This was in the suit against the privatization of ECG, I believe. Yes. So permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I'm glad Dean Abochi, my former employee, invited me to make a few remarks here today. Dean Abochi has very interesting stories about the time we worked together, including many accusations against me. One of his favorite accusations is that I caused him to have his first car accident. Now, legal education and the legal profession face daunting challenges today, we all know. So from 29th to 31st of October 2021, the deans of all the 15 law faculties in Ghana and the director of the Ghana School of Law, who is also director of legal education, convened in Eburi in the Eastern region to establish the Conference of Law Deans as a permanent platform for engaging with all the deans of the universities and the director of legal education on matters of legal education in Ghana. At the 3-day meeting, we discussed the multiple challenges confronting legal education in Ghana today and resolved to do our part to help resolve them. Our dear students, please rest assured that as your teachers, we will not sleep until the challenges you face, the challenges your parents and guardians face, the challenges your friends face, are resolved to the best of our ability. The Conference of Law Deans has started work on some 7 work streams aimed at improving your student experience and your progression from the faculties to the law school and then to the bar. In December this year, and also in March 2022, that's early next year, The conference would present concrete proposals to the Chief Justice, then the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, and the President of the Republic for initiating some change. Aside merely presenting these proposals, the conference resolved and set up technical working groups on each of the 7 matters. And these technical working groups are charged with working to realize the approval and implementation of the proposals, not just formulating the proposals. Your Dean, Dean Aboshin, and I were put on the most difficult technical working group. We hope to do our best. Now, what are those 7 areas we discussed? The first is on the legal profession bill. As you know, there's a legal profession bill being processed now, and it contains a number of issues. So the first technical working group is to analyze it, and from the perspective of legal education, make proposals for reform. I think the bill was drafted without legal education in mind, but you can't have a legal profession bill without taking that into account. The second technical working group is on rules for the recognition of law faculties. So the General Legal Council has developed rules for recognizing law faculties, such as this one. Again, there are a few issues there which we want to raise with the council. Somebody here said, hey, that should tell you that there needs to be some engagement around those rules. The third is on standardizing law school curriculum, teaching methodologies, and modes of assessment. We want to ensure that if you come out of a law faculty in Ghana, the whole world would expect a certain standard, a certain minimum standard. And so there's a technical working group on that. The fourth is on improving and updating teaching monographs and course compilations. 60, going to 70 years after independence, am I right? We don't have proper monographs on Ghana law. We have set up a plan, and by the end of that plan, we would have monographs on each area of law in Ghana. So you enter law school and you have your monograph on contract law, on constitutional law, on property, and so forth. And they will be constantly updated. The fifth technical working group is on this whole thorny issue of bifurcation between theoretical law and practical law. The one in the law faculties, the other in the law school. And then progression to the bar. That's the committee that Dina Boche and I are on. Very complicated matter, but at the meeting there were very sober reflections on it and some initial proposals which we know would be carried. Because believe it or not, sometimes we feel that the leaders are not concerned. But when you talk to them, they are as concerned as us. It's just that there has to be a meeting of mind in order to move things forward. The sixth one, which I love very much, is the conditions of service for law teachers. Very, very important. And the last one is the whole institutional structure for the Conference of Law Deans. Because you also have to have complementary institutions, like the Conference of Law Teachers, the Conference of Law Administrators and Law Librarians. Already, Dina Boche and I are discussing a library loan system between the University of Ghana and UPSA. So do you now want to go back to the discussion of which is the best law faculty? Now, you can't do this without having the law librarians in the country engaging and working together to deliver on such an initiative. So, to conclude, the Conference of Law Deans is deeply concerned about the range of issues that have led to and are implicated in the current crisis in legal education. We are aware of the role of our own law faculties in Ghana in creating the crisis, both in terms of our own activities, but also our critical role in finding a lasting solution to the crisis. We have initiated the processes for engaging with the necessary stakeholders to sanitize and improve teaching and learning and generally address the crisis. And we commend you, our students, your parents and guardians, some of them are paying monies for you to be here, your friends and so forth, for your continuing patience. Indeed, the patience of the entire Ghanaian public. And we encourage you to hold on just a little while longer. This conference today is one of the steps towards this. I remember at the conference, we endorsed this conference as a mechanism for finding out some of these solutions. As you know, also on Monday, we have another conference on legal education at our school, University of Ghana School of Law. That one was also endorsed. These are all steps towards those proposals which can make our lives jointly better. I thank you for your attention, and may Oduman Kuma Nyankupong continue to bless legal education and the legal profession in Ghana, and bless us all. Thank you.